I gave you a double dose of the wake-up stim.
Ever since the first Halo game was released, people have really loved the games ever since Combat Evolved. And today, what we're going to be doing is playing every single Halo game to see which Halo is the best. So recently, I replayed all the Halo campaigns, even though I don't have all that footage. So we're going to be going through and checking to see which is the best game and giving a definitive answer at the end. So the first game in the series is Combat Evolved. Playing through Combat Evolved again was very interesting because the game's older. I played through the remastered version because, it looks better and just would look better for the video. And I have the Master Chief Collection, so I just chose that one. So first, let's start off with where do I feel like this game should be based on the gameplay and the story and a few other things. Well, the story is kind of basic, bland, but it brings you in and engages you into the game. So the story I'll give like a 7 out of 10. Now for the gameplay. The gun shooting is still, and also the gun shooting is really good. But we gotta remember that a lot of the stuff was held back by the time, and this was advanced for the time. So the movement's a little bit clunky, like crouching to go under things is really, really slow. There's no sliding, which I don't mean there hasn't been since recently in 343's new games, but that's just a little complaint that I have. The movement's a little bit clunky, but that can be expected since it's an older game. But the combat is good, the shooting, the melee, and I played all these games on normal difficulty, and it wasn't too difficult, and it wasn't too easy either. So this game presents enough of a challenge to keep you going, and the story is also decently interesting, so it's enough to keep you playing the game. And I mean, you can see how the rest of the series and why it was so popular, and as well as why the rest of the series branched off from this game. So now putting Combat Evolved right in there, we're going to give Combat Evolved an A. It has some issues, but it also is just a good game, and it started off the whole series, so you got to give it some credit, because obviously there was something in there. I really liked the game. If I was going to judge it by modern standards, I'd probably move it down to B, but based on how it was then, an A. And the only thing holding it back from S is that I still got to base it off of if you want to go replay this, if you've never played Halo before, and I don't think you really would want to very much, but it's still a good game, and I enjoyed it. And now we're moving on to Halo 2, which is personally one of my more favorite games, even though there's some just system things that I didn't really like. So going back through this game, I realized that the story is definitely better, probably about a 9 out of 10, based comparing it to the other Halo games. And it's just an interesting story. It keeps you engaged, and especially in the remastered, the game looks really good. The game's fun, and the combat is slick. It's faster paced than Combat Evolved was, probably due to the advancement in technology from Combat Evolved to Halo 2. And plus, the game adds dual wielding, and that just makes it a completely different ballpark. The game is fun. It introduces a lot of new things. The story evolves quickly. It keeps you interested, and the combat is fast-paced. Now, what would I give the combat in this? I would probably give the combat a 9 out of 10. The only thing that's holding it back from that 10 out of 10 is the fact that the shield kind of is bad. There's not really a shield anymore. It kind of is gone, and that kind of sucks. So actually, move it down to an 8 out of 10 with the combat. So, where would I place this game on the chain compared to Combat Evolved? Well, Halo 2, it was really good, and I loved the story, and I loved the combat, but it didn't feel like it brought anything too new, and that, bad shield stuff probably brings it down to like a B. And I also remember the hype for this game was a lot, so, that's just kind of my opinion on the game. So, moving on to Halo 3.
This ain't good.
Dropping in onto Halo 3, it immediately starts out with a bang, coming right off of Halo 2's story. Now, the game already looks better. It looks just as good as the Halo 2 Remastered did, and it brings you right in. The story is even more interesting than the last one, and I think this is one of the only Halos with a 10 out of 10 story. So, let's see. Actually, besides Reach also has a 10 out of 10 story, but we'll get to that later. The combat is very similar to 2, so I'm going to put it at the same, except they added back the shield, which I think brings the combat to a 10 out of 10. It is almost perfect. Actually, we're going to move that down to a 9. The movement still is not as good as it could be, like it is in Infinite. But, let's dive in a bit deeper and see, what about the story? How good is it? How good does it look? How good does it feel? And does it really evolve from the last game? Now, Halo 3 keeps everything from the last game that was good, like the dual wielding and the good story elements, as well as keeping that same character beats, and it picks up like seconds after Halo 2 to get you right back in and bring you back in after the long wait from Halo 2 to Halo 3. But there is really nothing, honestly, in my opinion, that is worse than Halo 2 in any way. It only improves, it adds back that better shield, it just flows a little bit better, and because it's a newer game, it lags less, it's a little smoother, and everything. So, let's just see, where would I put this? I think Halo 2 is about the same as Combat Evolved, and it's even better, but it doesn't have that starting of Combat Evolved, so we're going to put it in A with Combat Evolved. Taking a look at Halo ODST, it is a very different game compared to even its base game, Halo 3. It was a DLC that released alongside it, or I don't know how long after, but it was at some point after. Now, the game is very different. It's like, at the beginning, you're like a detective, you drop in, and you're with different guns, slightly different enemies, and the story is actually pretty good. That's a 9 out of 10 in my opinion. The combat is very similar to Halo 3, but it's a little bit worse because that health bar is very different. There is shield, but there is also health, and it lasts very long, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't automatically regenerate. You have to go find health and stuff like that, so that brings it down a bit, even though it does last a long time. So honestly, I think I'm going to put, also the game's not very long, it's a DLC, so I think I'm going to pop Halo 3 ODST in B tier along with Halo 2. So, yeah, let's pop in and go to Halo 4. Alright, so we got Halo 4, which is kind of the first bad one. This is after Bungie left. So, or after Reach released. The game kind of sucks. The guns are weird. The story doesn't make any sense. They tried to introduce a new villain. It didn't really work out very well. It would have been okay. The movements and the combat's good, but the guns kind of ruin the combat. So I'm going to give the combat like a 5 out of 10. The story is just terrible, so like 2 out of 10 for that. I mean, there's really nothing else to say. They tried to do something different. It was a new studio. It didn't feel the same. I didn't really like it personally, so we're going to give that... Let's pop that in utter trash tier. Alright, so popping in Halo 5, it's a little bit better. Combat, they improved some of the weapons, the story's kind of just as bad, and it kind of resolves that bad story from before. And this is the last game before it got kind of decent again. So, here, let's see. Let's pop this in and give that a, a D.
So, why would rebels want to cut off Reach from the rest of the colonies?
Finally, we've reached what I think is the best game in the whole entire series. Halo Reach is just fun. It puts together everything that Bungie learned throughout their whole entire time of making Halo and refines it. The combat is fun. I mean, it's not the best in the series, I don't think. It's probably about an 8 out of 10 in my opinion. The story, it's just so phenomenal. I can't even get over it. That's a 10 out of 10. It has the best story in all Halo games. It's just sad. Everything goes together perfectly, and it's the perfect Halo game. And with that, I'm putting Halo Reach in an S tier. With that, I've finally decided that I think Halo Reach is the best Halo game. Alright, bye.